Hey peeps, it's your favorite manifesting cousin, Neira, and welcome to the Manifest with Me podcast, where we will be discussing mindset, manifestation, and money with a little ratchet behavior mixed in from time to time. If you haven't already, please make sure to follow me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Neira_X. You can also follow my YouTube at Neira the G.O.A.T and visit the website neirathegoat.com. If you're interested in learning more about how to manifest more, shift your paradigms, and overcome limiting beliefs, download my new ebook, Just Ask the GOAT, Your Ratchet Guide to Understanding the Mind and Manifestation. The link is in the show notes. I'm so happy and grateful that you've taken a moment to listen to this podcast, and I hope that this week's episode is super helpful and insightful. Make sure to leave me a 5-star review or comment on this episode and shout me out on social media. So without further ado, let's hop right into this week's episode. Welcome to the Manifest with Me podcast, Lori. It is so good to have you. I'm super excited, guys. We have our first ever podcast guest to the Manifest with Me podcast, and we have the lovely Lori Saitz, who is our meditation expert for today. So welcome, Lori.
Thank you so much for having me, Neira. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm honored to be your first guest.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have you. We did a little, just to let the guests know, we had a little conversation prior to even recording this podcast, and Lori has some amazing insight that she's going to be sharing with us as it relates to meditation and manifestation. So before we get started, I'd like for you to just introduce yourself, let the guests know about you, who you are, what you do, who you help, all of that.
Yeah, that's a lot. So yes, Lori Saitz, my company is called Zen Rabbit, and I am on a mission to teach the world to be calm and grounded no matter what's going on around them. That's a tall order. It's possible. And the way truly, this is going to sound like, okay, this is some pie in the sky idea, but truly the way to heal the world is to heal ourselves first, to start with ourselves and to, do what we can to make ourselves the best person. So if you can work on yourself to be calm and grounded no matter what, the world will follow suit.
I totally agree. I'm learning that, our life only mirrors what we have going on internally. So if we can learn how to quiet what's happening in our internal world, then we'll be able to see and experience that peace in our external world. So tell me, how did you get started with meditation?
My mom took my brother and me to a meditation course when I was 10 years old. That course is now known as the Silva method. And so I always had this foundation, this background, but I did not use it for like the next 40 something years. So like I'd meditate for a couple of days and then I'd skip it for a couple of years and then I'd come back to it. But I was never consistent until a few years ago. Actually, it's interesting because I became consistent shortly after my mom passed away in 2014. And so it's almost like she was preparing us for her to not be here by giving us that gift all those years previous. But yeah, that's when I came back to it and started doing it myself. And it helped me through a lot of difficult times. And then more recently, past couple of years, have started sharing that gift of writing meditations and teaching people how to meditate, and really helping people understand the myths and misconceptions around what meditation is, because there's so many of them.
Yes, that is so awesome. I wish that my mother was into meditation and that I would have learned it sooner. I'm sure, even though at the beginning, like you said, it was kind of start and stop, it has been so helpful to me. So I could only imagine once you did get into it, how it began to change your life. So you mentioned some of the myths that are around meditation, and I want you to debunk them all, because so many people I talk to are like, girl, I don't have time to sit down and meditate, or whatever the case may be. So let's just debunk the myths so people can get quiet for a second, right?
Yes. Yeah. All right. So let's start with that one that you just said. I don't have time. People say that because they think that meditation means you have to sit quietly in a corner, on a mat for an hour at a time. And that's not true. There's science and research showing that even 5 minutes of meditation can be super beneficial. And what it does, it quiets your whole system. it makes you more effective. It helps you with focus, helps you with creativity, helps you with productivity, helps you create better relationships so you're less likely to be drawn into conflict. All of those things actually save you time. So in meditation is really an investment more than an expenditure of time, because if you spent 5 or 10 or even 15, let's like go crazy and spend 15 minutes in meditation, you're actually giving yourself time back, because something that might take you 2 hours to do typically would now take you an hour and a half or an hour, because you're more focused, you're more able to like zone in on it and get it done quicker. So now you're actually buying time.
Absolutely. I agree. For the year, I think it was matter of fact, it was during the pandemic. Working from home, it was a very stressful time for a lot of us. So for me, it was during the pandemic that I started incorporating meditation as a regular practice into my life. And like you said, 10 minutes, what's 10 minutes? It's like you'll spend 10 minutes scrolling on your phone. So what I started doing was I just decided that I was going to commit to try to meditate 10 minutes a day. And I just set a timer on my phone. And at first it seemed like, what am I doing? Like my thoughts are just everywhere. I can't stop them. But I just began to focus more so on my breathing. Sometimes it would be like I would try to focus on maybe the ceiling fan in the room, or I would close my eyes and try to focus on my breathing a little bit. And as I began to practice more, it became easier for me to fall into a meditative state. I think to your point, one of the other myths that we kind of have to debunk is the fact that you have to sit still. Because I think you and I mentioned in the previous conversation, sometimes you can go into a meditative state doing just like mundane tasks around the house, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to be sitting still. Like a lot of people talk about getting into a meditative state when they're doing the dishes, or like that runners get it a lot. I was going to say the runner's high. It's not necessarily the runner's high, but when you are out running or even walking, you can get yourself into a meditative state. Really, meditation is that place where you are quiet enough to hear your own inner voice. So you do not have to be sitting still in complete silence, which is another thing that people think like this is meditation, and everything has to be all quiet and I have to be sitting. You could be walking through nature. I would leave, if that's something that you're going to do, I would leave the electronics at home, or at least turned off, again, so that you can just be fully present in the moment. And the other thing is, so you mentioned when you started, were you like meditating in silence? Did you have music going on? Were you listening to guided meditations? What was your
I would do a mixture between guided meditations, but I really wanted to get to a point where there was like nothing. So if the AC was running, it's like I think it was like trying to teach myself that I could use a guided meditation, or I could get myself into that state regardless of what's happening. So, like you can't really control the air conditioning unit unless you cut it off. Or sometimes when you're at home, you can't necessarily stop your kids from running in the other room or anything like that. But so it was more so me like trying to practice not getting distracted by those things that I have no control over.
Got it. That's cool. That's one way to do it. And then a lot of people I talk to struggle with that a little bit, especially in the beginning. So I recommend that they do a guided meditation, because when your thoughts are running all over the place, and that's another myth. People are like, well, I'm not good at it because I can't shut off the thoughts in my head. Well, guess what? That's part of meditation. Those thoughts, those constant thoughts, that's part of the process. Everyone has that. And the key, I was going to say the trick, it's kind of a trick, I guess, is to catch yourself when the thoughts start carrying you away and bring yourself back.
Yes.
It's that bringing yourself back. That is actually the part that makes you better able to focus when you're not in meditation, because you're constantly refocusing your attention when you're in meditation. It makes you better and easier to do when you're outside of a meditation.
Oh, that's great. That is such a great key. So I know that you guys are listening to that. Just know if you've tried meditation that you're not crazy and you're not alone. When you feel like those thoughts are keep on coming back when you're trying to focus. That was good. That was good, Lori. So I want to get into how meditation helps us to collapse time with our manifestations. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I love this because when you can get into a meditation, again, it's about getting into that place where you're quiet enough to hear your own inner voice, because we're so used to hearing all the voices outside of us, all the chaos and commotion and stuff that's going on in media, in family, in colleagues. Like, everybody's trying to tell you what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind that they can't manage their own stuff.
Right.
They got advice for you.
Right.
But no one knows as well as you do what is right for you. So it's about getting in touch with your own inner voice. When you can do that, you're going to get clear messages, sometimes maybe not so clear at first.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they might not be so clear is because you're like, wait, am I really hearing what I'm hearing?
Yes, yes.
You're questioning. You're like, really? I'm supposed to do what?
Mm-hmm.
The more you practice it, the clearer those messages will get, and the more courage you will get to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times people don't want to get quiet enough to hear their own inner voice because they're afraid of what they're going to hear.
Yep.
And they're like, well, I don't want to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. Your life is going to be easier though if you do. I mean, you might get these messages that are telling you to do stuff that's going to be hard and scary and difficult. And once you do it, it gets easier on the other side. That's what I mean. Like, overall, you're going to be doing things that are the messages you're getting are for your highest good.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I think that we live in a culture where, I struggle like growing up as a Christian, but you get into this culture where everyone in the messaging kind of makes it seem like God is outside of you. And so we're constantly looking for like these external answers or these external forces outside of us to show us what to do, even whether they come from the whomever.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the time out to really listen to that inner knowing, like you're saying. And a lot of the times taking action to do that is scary, right? Because it is kind of off the beaten path, because even though there are so many people that meditate, it's still not as common as you would think it would be, right?
Right.
So it's already scary to make that choice. And then you make another very good point. A lot of the times when your intuition is guiding you to do something, it never makes any sense, especially at the beginning.
Right. Right. Yeah. And the more you tap into it, the clearer the message gets. But again, you got to be willing. You got to find the courage.
Mm-hmm. It's like, you want me to go where? You want me to talk to who? Why do I need to go this way instead of that way? Or whatever the case may be. And I
Right.
think like what you don't realize is, like you said, as you tap into it more, it helps you to become more confident in trusting yourself. It helps you to develop that trust and that relationship with source, the source within you, so you know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. And then, right, once you start listening to that, the people around you are going to be like, "What are you doing? That's insane. Like, that doesn't make any sense." And you can agree with them. I know it doesn't make any sense, and I'm doing it anyway.
Yes, yes. And I guess like as it relates to collapsing time to help you manifest sooner is when you begin to do it more, you then look back at your life and you think about all of those times where you either didn't check in with that inner knowing through meditation, or you kind of tapped in, or you might have got an intuitive nudge to do something and then you still chose not to do it. And you begin to realize like, well, man, how many manifestations have I missed out on? How many opportunities have I missed out on from not following my inner guidance and knowing what to do?
Yeah, you've been putting up your own roadblocks. At the same time, though, I would prefer that listeners not beat themselves up for, okay, all along the way I was doing this and I was holding myself up and I was putting up my own roadblocks. okay. And now today you have an opportunity to make a different choice. Like, don't beat yourself up for what you did or didn't do in the past. You can't go back and change it. When the time is right, and maybe the time is right now, then you change.
Absolutely. That's great. Yes, that's super important. I think just on this journey of life, because so often we are pushed to forgive other people so quickly before we're taught to forgive ourselves first. So it's like you recognize that, like you said, it's like you recognize that this is what I have been doing, but now I have an opportunity to change that. And today on is something new, and all of that other stuff, it just is what it is. It's not good or bad, it just is. And we move forward.
Right. Right. There's a guy I follow on Instagram. His name is Peter Crone, and he's known as the mind architect. And he has this quote that I absolutely love. And it is, the past, what happened, happened and could not have happened any other way because it didn't. You got to think about that for a second.
Oh yeah,
let it really sink in. And it's so good.
I'll probably be
rewind and listen again.
Be thinking on that the rest of the week. That's really, really good.
I want to go back to the question that you asked about collapsing time through meditation, because a lot of times the way I found to collapse time and, like, I would say make things happen, but we, especially Americans, we're all about making things happen. And really that's a misnomer. We're not making anything happen. We're allowing things to happen. And inviting them into happen. Well, coming back to this whole idea and feeling of gratitude and how that contributes to manifesting faster. When you can get into the feeling of gratitude, again, that's the highest energetic vibration we can reach. Love and gratitude, the two, they're like essentially the same thing. When you can get into a meditation and you can feel gratitude for whatever it is that you would like to manifest, that you would like to bring into your life, that isn't in physical form right now, you can feel the gratitude for that as if it's already here. That's what makes it happen even faster.
Absolutely. By the way, do you have any guided meditations or anything that guests are able to download or check out?
Yes, I do. I have a 5-minute gratitude meditation, 5 or 6 minutes. I can't remember now, but yes, it's a gratitude meditation that takes them through feeling gratitude for things you've had in the past, things you currently have in your life, and the things you are manifesting. I actually create customized gratitude meditations in the similar format. So it would be using your own experiences and goals. But this shorter one is a kind of a generic one that takes you through the format of it. And yeah, if you want to we can put a link to that in the show notes.
Absolutely.
People can come to the website. It's zenrabbit.com/meditation.
Oh, absolutely. I'll make sure to link that in the show notes for anybody that's interested. Well, before we go really quickly, if you had any tips that you would like to leave with people who are just starting to meditate, what would they be?
Yes. One, have grace with yourself. Understand that it's called the practice for a reason. So start out with 5 or 6 minutes. Start out with a guided meditation, because it's a lot easier, in my experience, to listen to someone else's voice instead of trying to just clear the thoughts in your head and be alone with your own thoughts. So there are tons of meditations. One of the apps that I recommend and love, and my meditations are not on that app, but it's called Insight Timer. And it's a free app that you can download. And there are hundreds of thousands of meditations on there. And you can just choose whether you want a meditation for anxiety or for helping sleep or for calming yourself, whatever it is. Just you can find meditations on there of all different lengths. So I highly recommend, finding an app and finding meditations that work for you. If you listen to one and you're like, oh, I didn't really like that one, choose a different one next time. And so again, giving yourself grace and maybe setting a specific time of day and being consistent there. Like I like to meditate before I get out of bed in the morning. So I'm setting my intention for the day. So if you can find a time instead of trying, especially in the morning, like, before you get into your day, sometimes it's hard to squeeze it in later. It just gets pushed off. And if that happens, what about right as you're falling asleep?
Yes, I try my best to have one during the morning, right before I start moving around or getting too active. And if I'm able to, I like to squeeze in another one like midday. But that's because I work from home. Everybody's situation is a little different, but I agree with all of those things.
Yeah,
Yes.
and meditation could be as simple as just breathing. Like take 60 seconds or 120 seconds to just focus on your breathing, like taking a really deep breath in all the way down to your abdomen and breathing in and then letting it go and doing that for 2 or 3 or 5 times. Just that one thing, which is sort of a meditation. You're focused on your breathing. That's going to calm everything down. When you're feeling super stressed, you don't even need to put headphones on for that, or you don't need to nobody needs to know what you're doing. You can just take a few really deep breaths and it's going to calm your whole nervous system.
Absolutely. Lori, before we go, if you could give yourself a plug, it's your time to shine. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is at my website, which is zenrabbit.com. And there are links there to all my socials. You can find me there. So yeah, that's really the best place to go. And then that gratitude meditation is at let me see where it is. It's zenrabbit.com/gratitude-meditation. And we can put a link to that in the show notes.
Absolutely, we will. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to join the Manifest with Me podcast. I think that you are amazing. I'm probably going to download a few of your guided meditations because I feel like you can never have too many, and I like to switch it up myself too. So thank you so much for joining us. And like you guys heard, you can go and visit Lori at her website, zenrabbit.com, and follow all of her socials. And like we always say, go forth, be great. Always remember what you're seeking is seeking you too, and happy manifesting.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any questions or any topics that you'd like me to discuss, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or send me a DM on Instagram. Peace, love, and light to you. Always remember what you are seeking is seeking you too. Happy manifesting.